Hello everyone, this is Fanny Menardi from PachaMamArt. So today a new video presentation of my new Encyclopedia, the disclosure book. We are going to talk about chapter 1, the black sheep syndrome, which is the first part of my success evidence. Of course, you always meet obstacles in your journey. So we're talking about that today, a little bit of cool stories. But first, I'm going to see my mom today and she's asking me to bring her some books. So let's take a look at her library. So what do we have today? Hello. This is the Intestine Anonymous. So we have the discrete charm of the intestine. Free intestines, okay? And what if I took my intestine on a break? Okay. So they're going on a fast diet next week with her boyfriend. So they're gonna have a lot of fun. But anyways, you would think that's funny. But in fact, are you following your guts? Because a lot of our health problems, are translations of our minds. Sometimes you feel things in your guts, or you have throat disease, like a lot of people who have thyroid disease. There are people who have secrets from their childhood and things that got stuck, and then it translates into throat problems. Or people who did not dare telling the truth or talking to their families. At the time, children were not allowed to talk and stuff like that. So that's actually very interesting. And when you cleanse your body and you go on a fast diet, you're forcing your body to reject, like to cleanse out all the stuck emotions, so very interesting. Another one of the things that my mom tried, she had a fasting center in Guadeloupe, and it didn't work, and she lost it. She lost her house just like me. She lost her business. So it's a lot of us, who've tried different things for the good, for the health of people, or for the truth, or for to help other countries and things, but we always have to go through obstacles. And so that's my introduction to the black sheep syndrome, because we all have these moments when we feel like an imposter, or we're not good enough, or why is this happening to me and things. But the difference between those who make it are those who never stop, so I heard a lot of the comments who were saying, why, aren't they hiring her? I'm so committed. I can do any jobs, literally. I've done every type of jobs. I've been a teacher. I work in a restaurant now. I've worked in cultural centers. I've worked in embassies. But at the same time, you want high profile jobs and you have to prove yourself every day. And those humanitarians at the United Nations, they go through many, many, many moments of discouragement. So this is part of the test. At some point, you don't want this to last forever. It's very, very aggravating, but you can't change people's mentality. When I was in the United States, it was, oh, she needs to spend time with her son. Now it's like, oh, she needs to spend time with family. Or, oh, if we hire her now, she's not going to win a Nobel Prize. Or maybe, if she gets a job, whatever. It's all these limiting beliefs that people think you can't have it all. And literally, when you have people that are committed, like the people we see right now, and that's why I'm so sappy with all the government officials, the journalists, the Nobel Prize Committee, the United Nations social media teams, like all the people who contribute to this every day because they're just passionate about it. You can fake things for a little while, but you can't fake for so long. The people who do this a lifetime, they're so passionate. This is just who they are. So when you have that, you want to work together and gather instead of fighting against each other. We have more energy to spend on our common goals than fighting for petty things. That really, I think there were some very petty behaviors, but whatever. Like I said, you can't change. You can only try to influence and try to be a role model and to continue trying to make it better for the next generations. Okay, so let's go to my first chapter, the success evidence, chapter 1. So welcome. Every chapter is an entry to a door. So the black sheep syndrome. Rock bottom will teach you things that mountaintops never will, but it will also change who you are at your core. You see, I grew up with parents who hated their jobs. They both struggled financially and complained about it all the time, and I could not stand it. I promised to myself I would be the opposite. I swore to find a career and lots of friends who I would love to be successful. Lots of friends that I would love to be successful and travel the world. I believe the promise of my generation, that if we studied and worked hard and were well-dressed and polite, the world would open the magical doors. And it did, until I got married and tried my luck at the American dream. And then he went nuts. He went crazy. They were like, oh, she's married, she's good, she doesn't need that job. And then she was like, they were like, oh, she's a mom, it's always an excuse that people have not to help you. But then people did come and help. And my mentors always said, find people that you admire, like you want their life, so you're going to do whatever they did. That's why masterclasses are so successful in the United States, because they get you through the power of stories. And all I found there were closed doors, at least in real life. Online, all the doors opened, but when I went to actually not knock at the door, it was never good enough. And then it created a whole, how do you call it? I'm stuck. When two frequencies don't align, a clash. So after that, a whole bunch of things happened, during my divorce. So this is my little story of how I started working with the FBI. So when I got divorced, we were talking about how we were gonna, talking about the custody, talking about the house and all our stuff. But my ex-husband was never able to sit down and talk without getting angry and leaving the house and becoming aggressive. All this stuff, like that was crazy. So I just kept trying to do the best for me and my son. And then that just degenerated. They sent terrorists to my house, trying to intimidate me. Everybody knows that story there. So I don't know if they were trying to intimidate me, or if the guy, I actually talked to this guy for a few minutes. He had a tattoo, of the Eye of Horus, and I showed him my paintings and stuff, and I don't know if he was trying to impress me or trying to scare me. But then they went to commit terrorist attacks that were directly aimed at me with very clear items that I talk about in my first Encyclopedia. And I was paralyzed. I was so scared, I was like, oh my God. I was receiving death threats in front of my home all the time, like, with pictures of jigsaws and stuff, just all the time, every day, intimidation. But I was not intimidated, because I knew I was doing the right thing. I'm a good person. I was just promoting culture, and I was not violent, So despite of that, nobody wanted to work with me. My publisher stopped trying to work with me. My friends, lots of people I worked with, stopped talking to me. The art collection I sent out to the Children's Hospital of New Orleans never got really promoted. They didn't even write my name on it. So, I was really treated like a victim, like a criminal, even though I was a victim. Nobody wanted to work with me, the masterminds, all the people online. So I was like, okay, I need to go and tell the truth, just to clear my name. So I went to the FBI, and it was COVID, so they didn't want to let me in. I had a whole file that I wanted to give them, but nobody let me in. So I was talking to the police officer at the entrance of the FBI, and I was like, hey, I'm in danger, I know a terrorist, they did this, and I want to talk to someone, I'm in danger right now. And they were like, no, you can't come in, it's COVID, blah, blah, blah. So I asked for a scandal. I was like, I can't believe it. Like, you're just protecting yourselves, but you're not trying to protect your fellow citizens, snitches, try to come and give you information. So blah, 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 blah. I was like, take my picture, take my name, I gave them my ID card and everything. And so they took it. And 5 minutes later, I'm driving and I receive a notification on my phone that someone is trying to access my device, both of my devices, my computer and my phone, and if I would allow it. So I knew that it wasn't a coincidence, so I allowed it. And I went home and I opened on my computer all the files that I wanted to give to the FBI. So I opened and I scrolled just as if someone was remote reading the computer with me. I had no guarantee or not. I didn't really know if this was really happening or not, but I still did that. And then a few days later or weeks later, I don't remember exactly the time frame, I received notifications to apply to become an agent with the FBI. So I did apply to that. And I had to go pass an IQ test, and I passed the test, and then I went to an interview at the FBI, and this is when I finally met an agent, and I gave them all the files and things, and then I didn't get recruited, which actually, I was single with my son, so it would have been hard for me to go to Quantico and do all these things, so they told me I was too old, but I didn't really insist at this time. I was very intimidated, and yes, they were like, no, you're working more into culture, it's not really the field of what you want to do directly in the FBI. But I was like, yes, it is, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, long story short, after that, this is when they started following my work on Facebook, and we started kind of parallel working together. I started giving out all the information I could find, because as a stay-home mom and an artist, my art quickly became political, because like I said all the time, all my initiate art and thoughts and Egyptian gods and that have been inspiring me while I was painting, I was receiving information all the time. And then it was unlocking me doors to other information I would find. And so all this time I spent doing this, I shared it with the government officials, with the FBI, to guide them in making their decisions. Maybe, we're all humans. Maybe they don't have the time to see all the information, or maybe they need someone to help them connect the pieces of the puzzles. And they're already in their own little war between Democrats and Republicans, so I'm really, really proud of what we've been doing with Russia, because the whole mentality was anti-Russia, anti-China. If you're even talking about Russia, you're a Russian spy. Someone just got arrested because she published an article pro-China. Like, no, so wait. President Putin and Elon Musk are going to meet the Chinese president next week to a Chinese summit and stuff like that. This is called diplomatic ties. But people are not allowed to write articles that are pro-China and trying to do this at their own level. So, of course, we don't know the whole story, but I think it's very important to show the different perspectives and try to pacify those diplomatic relationships. So this is how it all started. So this is a transcription of Roman Rosavsky, who is the assistant director of the Counterintelligence and Espionage Division of the FBI. He said, I've been working in the counterintelligence field for his entire career, almost 20 years. Spies are definitely real, and they are everywhere and in places you wouldn't expect. They're also dangerous long-term if they steal a trade secret and bankrupt the U.S. industry. That costs thousands of jobs and billions of dollars to the U.S. economy. Yes, but the other way around is true as well. Like people like me who've been doing everything to not be a spy, but the opposite, to publicly share disinformation and trying to reconnect the countries and bring peace. It's been dangerous for my own situation, and I went bankrupt, and it's bankrupted also the people who didn't want to collaborate with me, because when you say no to an asset, then you're drowning your ship. You have to know to find the right people as well. So the United Nations, they refuse to pay their fees because they want to have people that are on their sides within the organizations to know what, so we can see what they're doing, so we can bring our own peace to the organizations. They want us to pay their dues, but they don't want to do anything for us. So this is a very bad, vicious circle that's been going on, and this has to stop. This has to stop. We're just asking to bring us in so we can work with you. What's wrong with that? Seriously. So after all this, the FBI, they protected me. I'm reading my book at the same time, so I'm going to switch. You don't need to. It's better if you see the book. So after that, they protected me. After I told them these stories, and for several years, I was kind of in hiding while I was writing all these stories in my first book and now my second book. I also say that for some reason, my work has attracted a lot of fanatics in the beginnings who did really bad things, either to scare me or to impress me. And after that, I got flagged as if I was a criminal and nobody wanted to work with me. This is the story I just told you. This is when they hacked my phone, and then I saw the job offer, and then I went to the FBI for the interview. This is when I went bankrupt and I had to fraud to leave the country because I was so broke. And once again, I'm not proud of it at all. I hate to have debt. I'm telling you the story of what people have to do to survive. Good people, educated people who want to be a part and who are only given closed doors and who have families to feed, and you have no other choice than frauding the people who've been frauding you every day, which is the banks and interest rates. So thank God for the Secret Services, for the FBI, for the White House, all the people who encouraged me. They kind of tolerated a little bit of fraud so I could share the story and explain the why. If it's on the banned book list, it's going to be a good read. Yeah, that's the whole story. So proud to bring in new artists, Encoded Frequency, to this book to illustrate, with a new energy. It's very fresh artwork. I love that. The Atlantis. Here, look, I love this image. I love this one. I love this image of the old Atlantis. Remember, this is the goal, to rebuild a Pacific world with no nuclear weapon. I say it in all my videos. You must know it now. Here, I love this. Interesting. This is the time when they used to burn witches. And now we're coming back. We're coming back as teams with the gods and with our dragons to set the house on fire, guys. So like I said, they tolerated a little bit of fraud, but for me to tell those stories so we can have a little bit of compassion with the people who struggle, and I never frauded to enrich myself. Actually, I give all my money to everyone. I give some money to my ex. I give the house so my son could benefit. I gave, yes, Edwin, that's right. And what was I saying? I given money to the people who adopted my dog. I always try to help people. But also, don't give too much of yourself, because people have to understand that they have to put on some work to succeed. Here I'm talking about the underdog advantage from Dean Graziosi. yes, they made me struggle a lot, and I always have these grudges against them. This, I talk about it all the time, and they're okay with it because I'm not gonna lie. But I also will always admire them and be grateful for what they taught me. Are you ready to lock yourself up for a month or 6 or 36 to focus on your career? Are you ready to fail 10 times and get back 11? If you can't live without someone or a passion or career, is it worth giving it all you got? We all have a different vision of success. Some people want family, fun, and friends, and they're perfectly content with that. I wish I was more like that. But are you really content with just that? Or do you settle for it because you believe there is no chance for you in the system, or you don't trust in your ability to do better professionally? Or is it too difficult and you gave up before you even tried? I know a lot of people like that. Either they want to just enjoy the moment and meditate and attract their best life, and then it doesn't come because they don't really do anything or sacrifice anything for it, and they just lose a lot of things, but they're not really focusing on how to succeed. I'm always taking this example of Davi, that is a friend of mine, and we're not friends anymore, even though I wish I could go back and help her, and I tried to help her 4 times. That's my friend who had a baby, 2 babies, and every time she had a baby and it didn't work out with the boyfriend, and she asked for help to come and stay at my house. And 3 times I said yes, and she stayed in my house for free. And I just asked that she works for me in return for a free rent in a castle where I was working my ass off every day to stay there and to be able to pay the huge bills. And she was just there meditating by the pool, enjoying her little kid, or going to do her little events. And I was like, hey, can you work for me, girl? Like, you're gonna do my newsletters, or you're gonna be my maid, basically. I need someone. I spent 8 hours a week cleaning my house, cooking and everything. I was like, if you can do that for me so I can actually spend time with my son after work. I work 50 hours a week, and the weekend I'm cleaning. Like, you want to stay here during the week, you're cleaning, so in the weekend I can enjoy my kid, and you can go do whatever you want. She couldn't even do that. She didn't have the time. Like, she couldn't even write a freaking newsletter. I was like, okay, now you gotta go. And she's like, I have my own business I'm working on. I was like, cool. You can work on your own business when you stay in your own apartment. Now you're in my house, you owe me, you're working for me first, and then when I make it and we start making profit and making money and stuff, then I can start paying you. And then when I start paying you and the business is rolling, then you take your extra time that you have to start your own business on the side, like we all do. And so people, they don't want to do that. I'm sorry. Or people that they see this huge journey and it's so much in front of them, they don't know where to start. Just like a child. You ask a child to do a presentation and they don't want to do it because they're like, oh my God, it's so much. And this is why as a teacher, you always have to break down every task in very, very little tasks. At least where I was working in like difficult communities and stuff where the kids, they need a lot of encouragement, a lot of guidance. They told us all the time, you have to break down everything in very tiny little tasks. So they don't see the whole work they have to do. They're taking little steps by little steps. That's why all these workshops and having mentors is essential. It's kind of like the carrot, a little bit, you do a little that and you're going to get that. But if you never give a reward, you never give the job, you never give, how do you want people to have experience or to build up the economy or to contribute to others? By having nothing, I was investing to forbidden knowledge, I was buying the trainings with the masterminds, donating to charities. Like the people who have the least are those who give the most. That's crazy. So anyways, the black sheep syndrome. So you feel like you're excluded, but at the same time, you have to keep this consciousness of the potential by seeing the examples. And some people, they just don't want to. They're like, oh, it's too hard, I have too much to do, and they're not doing anything. And then 2 years later, 3 years later, they're still in the same place. So who am I to give you success advice when all I've done is fail in my life? Not true, but since I got to America, because before I got to America, I've been successful very quickly. I every job I wanted, I got it. I got married quickly. I was like 27, just after I finished my degrees. I got a beautiful babies. I was working with embassies. I succeeded all my studies, all of that. I was very successful. Then I came to America, and it was like, no, 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 no. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe here I'm meant to go to the highest level, and the door will be no until I get there. But I still think that it would have been a lot easier if they had said yes to that job, because you don't have to lose everything to prove that you want it or to prove that you're a good person. Because in the end, we hate you. We freaking hate you. They cut down the budget at the United Nations. Half the people are going to lose their jobs. And what did it serve? Stubbornness. So don't. That's the thing, the new masterminds. The new mastermind is like taking the good lessons to build up your character, but improving it and evolving with time, with what works right now. If you're making the way too difficult, nobody's going to want to be a part. And if you're keeping the government this very inclusive or exclusive little cliques, or the United Nations, this very, closed little cliques and stuff, nobody's going to want to participate and contribute and work with you. We're going to be like, oh, they're all just, some snobs, and it's all going to crash. So let's continue. Then I have a lot of testimonials. Continue broadcasting, yes. Then I have a lot of testimonials from the Nobel Prize laureates. I love that, because a lot of these successful people, they tell you that you have to stay curious, adopt the right attitude, and stay on the track no matter how long and winding the road may be, said medicine laureate Katalin Kariko. Another one, Pierre Agostini, Nobel Prize in Physics, 2023. It's very rare that things work the first time. Take it step by step. This is everything I was telling you. And then you have that belief. Are you the one in a million? Like I said, some people, their dream is to be a mother, is to have a family. You don't have to be, the Secretary General of the United Nations or the Secretary of State of the Secretary of the United States. Like, some people, they're happy, super content with a life in nature with their kids and be a mom, the simple life. They don't like the social media. We need everything. We need the farmers. We need people who are connected to the earth. So it's really your calling. Do you believe you're that one in a million that can win a Nobel Prize with a book? Do you believe you're this one in a million that can come from nowhere and then, unify all the countries together and take down the nuclear weapons? Like, it's something in your guts. So, do you feel it, or does it not just interest you? You don't have to, My network, when I started in Jacksonville doing my art workshops, I was attracting a lot of awesome people to my house, and we were doing mandalas, and it was really a good time, but it didn't work, because my thing was to make this art political. And a lot of people, they want to keep it art, a very entertaining things, but they don't want to make it political, because political, creates arguments and divisions, when in fact you need those debates to make things progress. So I stopped the workshops. It didn't bring money because it wasn't taking me in the right direction. Online is when I found my political community, and most of those who actually follow me on Facebook and who ended up in my book, they're all politicians. So, because this is, the common ground that we have. Celebrate the little wins. You got a degree or a certification, or you added a line on your resume, or you learned a language. There is someone new and valuable in your network. You got a business deal. You got one work published. You made a discovery. You master some type of craft. You have a place to stay. Just keep growing, and one day it will add up. live a little, but remember that the hard work you put in now might be your signature later. And I should add, and your empire. One day you'll turn around and you've built an empire. So do the oracle, do the little thing, and keep going. Very, very grateful with the Nobel Prize Committee because they showed interest in my work that just made me want to continue. Had they not paid attention, I probably would not, or the Pentagon, or all these very high-level, intelligent people and powerful people, had they not paid attention, I would have not made that. So yes, you can make a difference in someone's life just by showing interest and by guiding them and by contributing. And then other people will join. Yes, I realized that something was missing. I was slighting the family member who would undergo the most profound change over the long run. The wife and mother, I neglected her because the sources had. Women were in the data. Oh yeah, she made a study about women and their integration in the economy. Letting you read that. Yes, women were in the data when young and single, and often when widowed. But their stories were faintly heard after they married, for they were often not producing goods and services in sectors that were or would be included in GNP. And then that changed. With the evolution of society, the creation of services, women got more involved, and then our roles. But it's true, for me, as long as I was married, I was respected. I had job opportunities. I had more job opportunities before I was married. But when I got to the United States, I was married. As soon as I was divorced, you're the worst kind. You're a threat. You're a disgrace. You're a danger. This is disgusting. So yes, then more stories about Nobel Prize laureates. This is like the love stories. This is a Nobel Prize, Literature Prize laureate, Gabriela Mistral. I didn't know her, but she talked about how her heart was broken and she kept writing about it. And this is about the age, don't think you're too old to make any discoveries, because most physicists do that when they're in their 20s, but don't compare yourself to others. And most of the time, people don't take you seriously before your 40s. If you're in your 30s, they think you're immature, you're not ready, and it's so dumb, because honestly, where I was the best at my work is when I was 25, because I was just coming out of college. I was excited. I had all this energy. I was literally able to do the same thing I'm doing right now when I was 25. So right out of college, even probably when I was 12, like I was so mature all my life. So the age, and you have some people, they're 60 years old and they're still so immature, So the age means nothing. You have to give more opportunities to young people and important roles. So imagine if you give a young person a high level position while they're young. Imagine then they have all their entire life to build this legacy that's going to go exponentially faster to make progress in a field than someone who barely reaches when they're 60 and they're going to try to go back to bring back their things they worked on all their lives when the time has already passed. The generation is already a new one. So, and then you're 60 and then you have barely 20 years. Some people, they work until they're 80, 90, but I think at some point you need to go chill on an island and just retreat and enjoy the sun and some mojitos before you pass away. But let's say you work until you're 80. From 60 to 80, you are still young at this age, but you're not at the fullest of your energy either, So let's give people a chance while they're young and they have all their energy, all their beauty and everything, and they can enjoy a little bit of the spotlight before they get wrinkles on their face. Like, you know, that's probably looking superficial, sounding superficial, but it's true. This is Jamie Karen Lima. She made a huge deal with L'Oreal. You know, she was told everywhere that she wasn't beautiful enough to work in cosmetics. She was rejected many opportunities, and then finally she made this deal. She became a billionaire. She hired the guy who rejected her, became his boss. So that was a cool story, and this is the base of all the masterminds, the foundation of all the masterminds business. They are showing success stories, you know, so what is possible, and hearing failure stories and seeing how people can succeed even if they're not the son of or the daughter of is very inspiring, because it shows you that everybody can make it. And this is really the American mentality. We don't have this in France. It doesn't exist. This is why I want to work at the UNESCO, to bring those trainings, and in Europe, to make Europe more dynamic, more go-getters, because we are not like this. Europeans are not risk takers. When I tell them how I was in debt in the US and stuff, everybody's freaking out. Oh my God, I can't believe you did this and stuff. Like, you know, you're not scared. I'm like, no, like I'm scared. What do you want me to do? Like, not take any risk? So I'm not saying it's good. Like, literally, you should not spend the money you don't have. But if you never take any risks in your life, then don't be surprised that nothing happens. All right, so she published this book. So this is a little portrait. Now we have Tony Robbins. Get a mentor or join a community that sees your potential and will uplift you and trust you. If you can't find one, create it. And then that's when it's funny. This is Tony Robbins who says that. You say, now you're going to do everything that I tell you to do. And then the guy is like, okay, so if you tell me to go jump off a cliff, I should do it. And it's like, don't be stupid. Okay, so this is about common sense. You know, if you're going to lose everything because you're risking too much, you're stupid, like me. But, this is where we're coming now to the black sheep syndrome, and why sometimes it's worth going through the threshold. Because on the other side, you start finding clues of success, you know? Success leaves clues. And you have Hollywood stars, amazing people like Kim Kardashian or Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, or Snoop Dogg, who start, you know, preaching for you, or the United States government, the FBI, starting with protection, and now we're literally a team. I don't have an official badge of the FBI, except that now I have all their logos on my book, and they haven't sued me yet, so it's a good sign, you know? So one day, beam, you have amazing people start looking at your work and cheering for you. Kim, she said, I love to be people's biggest cheerleader. And literally, she has been such a support for me for maybe, 2-3 years now. Because she's been through it too. You know, she started as Paris Hilton's assistant. And the way people treated her sometimes, like they would completely ignore her to get a shot of Paris Hilton, you know, probably she had to shut her mouth a couple of times and let people, you know, treat her like less than she deserved a couple of times, but until she built her own empire, and now she's the queen of the world. So just because you're disrespected once or twice doesn't mean you should give up. Sometimes you have to take on things and accept less than you deserve while you're building your empire. And then it's true, people invest in you and how you make them feel, not just what you sell. And this is the difference. Empowering people empowers. A lot of people who empower others rise together. Nobody's going to take your throne. You're the queen, and she knows that. You're the most beautiful woman in the world. It doesn't mean that she's treating other people like garbage and trying to step on them to win. The opposite. She's empowering people. She's empowering women to feel better. Her whole brand is based on that everybody should feel beautiful no matter your body, and everybody should have a lawyer no matter what you did. You deserve a second chance. I love Kim. I love Kim. You know, surround yourself with people who want to see you win, and truly, not just people who want something from you, and people who really care about you, who really cheer for you. They want to see you win. They preach for you, and you do the same for them. You know, and that's why I always tell people what I want from them. I'm always transparent. I'm not a manipulator at all. Like, I'm telling Russia why I'm supporting them, because I want them to help me, you know, convince the BRICS to get rid of their nuclear weapons. I'm telling the US government, you know, what kind of positions I want, because I think those bridging mentalities are more and more needed. But also, I'm not trying to work with people that I don't like. If I'm trying to work with people, it's because I admire them so much and I want them to continue. I want Marco Rubio to become the president of the United States because he's such a natural. He's meant for this. You know, he has a great influence over politics in a mentality. They're strict and compassionate at the same time. Because if you're too kind, people will step on you and being disrespected. We've seen what happened under Joe Biden. I love Joe Biden. He was the kindest man. I campaigned for him. I campaigned for Kamala. But they were too nice. NATO, they took advantage of them. Ukraine, they took advantage of them. Israel, they took advantage of them. They spent lots of billions of dollars in aid and weapons. And now look at the carnage. And now the Trump administration, they have to fix it all. The immigrants, they went out of control. Even though I am 100% in favor of helping refugees. So when you're too nice, it can be detrimental and turn against you. So you have to be nice and compassionate and deeply care and take no shit and go and kill the people who are a threat to the world. What they're doing in Iran is completely legitimate. What they are doing what they did in Venezuela as well. It's taking a little long, I think, in Venezuela for the political transition. We have to push them also. The people have to speak up and say what they expect. If they're just like, oh yeah, go ahead, take our oil, we don't need anything else from you, then they're gonna be like, okay, cool. You know, it's like when you're at work. It's rare. You have a small percentage of people that you don't need to tell them anything. They're going to be at their best all the time and they're going to try to do to the best of their ability. But for most people, even if you're trying to be at the best of your ability, even if you're giving it your all, many people, they still need encouragement. They still need guidance. They still need motivation to be like, okay, we'll keep going this direction. And you always need to feel connected to a group. Even high-level people, they need to be cheered on. If you're literally sacrificing your everyday, your family, I'm not saying they're sacrificing their family, because nowadays many of them, they bring their family into the politics, more to the spotlight, and I think it's amazing. It's great that they're doing this, because without your family, without people who support you, it's not gonna last. You know, at some point you're going to crash or you're going to have a nervous breakdown. So we need to support them. We need to cheer on them, give them all the love and tell them they should go more in this direction. Or we're expecting that. Also, we voted for you. Let's do that. This is the power of the people also. So the 10 Commandments. And look at these cool wands. This is from Mystic Archives, the page on Instagram. His name is Scott, and he was super nice. I asked him if it's okay for me to use all his artwork for my book. He said no problem at all. He shares every day, so I'm super, super grateful, because the book really is very powerful with all these cool artwork. So you are the product. They prove it, you perfect it. Define yourself before others do. Don't follow the feed, be the feed. Turn failures into strategy. Your customer is your co-founder. Culture sets the time. Know your worth and add tax. Empires are built before dawn. I don't know, I like to sleep. Because I said so. Also, yeah, you have to say, well, I'm the boss. You stay humble, it's hard. I like to stay humble, but also you have to say, well, now I'm the boss. And we said it like that. Okay, so she did the 10 Commandments of Business after I painted that, the 10 Commandments of Business, inspired by Dean Graziosi. And then Kim made a whole masterclass about it. I thought that was so cool because then everybody started making their own 10 Commandments. Then I made my 10 Commandments of my 10 best moments. Also, moments who change your life. But I love Kim, so this was perfect in my black sheep syndrome chapter, because having people like Kim that work with you after being the underdog for so many years, and then you become the GOAT, that's the good twist in the story. Sorry, I'm always looking for my words. Yes, and look at her career. All's fair, makeup, she got products, she's an amazing model. You'll see lots and lots of pictures of Kim in the book. So then the 10 core moments of my brand. Turn your haters into supporters. I've done this. I'm a pro at this. This is probably my best skill, that a lot of my haters and people who think against me, I'm really good at twisting their mentality. I'm showing them another perspective, like what happened with Israel. Most America was saying, oh, the government supports Israel, we're going to support Israel, everybody's blindly supporting Israel, no matter if you have hundreds and hundreds of images of crimes being committed every day in front of our eyes, people still support this freaking Hitler of Netanyahu. Hello guys, what the fuck? So yeah, use your common sense more instead of blindly listening. And like I said, the government, sometimes they need to have a switch of perspective as well, and realize when they're being manipulated and used for immunity. And this is what Netanyahu has been doing. He killed hundreds of thousands of people. We're not talking about one little isolated accident. Hundreds of thousands of people in front of everyone, and he still brags about it. That's crazy. But this is between him and God, that he will soon meet. I think his health is not at the best. Unfortunately, he's not the only one. There's a lot of criminals in Israel. They're in the United States. There is the mafia. And this is not okay. Love is the answer. Treat people as if they were of your own family. How would you protect them? How would you see the world with more empathy? What if it was you? I'm very, very grateful that Narges Mohammadi was finally taken to a hospital. I cannot take it when I see these stories. It's just heartbroken. And I know that the US government has something to do with it. These guys are the best. So grateful to have a government like this who cares about the people, and they're badass soldiers, going out to save the world. This is what America does. Nobody else does it like they do. Transparency is key. People are not stupid. Okay, nobody wants to be lied to and manipulated. Honesty in a difficult discussion is better than an easy lie that will break your connection forever. Build trust with your team and fight for each other like your lives depend on it, because they do. Be fucking loyal. Okay, take a bullet for your people. If you ain't that passionate, I don't want it. Like, seriously, we need more loyalty, less fight and division, and more loyalty and support. And I think we really have that. Excellence as well. You can be nice all you want. People won't buy your brand if you don't provide amazing content. If it interests you or takes you by the heart, there is a chance it will do the same for others. And a lot of things I write in my book are things that when I learned about it, or when I discovered it, or when I created it, or these are things that just took me upside down, that I was like, oh my God, like, oh, so excited, like thinking about it for days, like made me think, like change my perspectives or whatever, just filled my heart with joy, or just these very, very high emotions of discovering information or knowledge or connecting with people. And that inspires me to continue, and I think it can inspire others to continue as well. And so if you find this kind of thing, that share it, because maybe other people want to know about it. Then be funny. Geez, don't take life too seriously. Be humble, be funny. Otherwise, too serious leads you to depression. Turn your flaws and insecurities into humor. Nobody's perfect. We all have complex. So, play with it. And it's a great way to avoid depression and low confidence. Stay humble, calm a situation, and to still convey your message. Like, what was it? I don't know. Oh my God. At my work, we laugh so much. Oh my goodness. We laugh a lot. I love to laugh. Respect yourself. If they treat you like an option, you have two solutions. Leave and make them regret what they've lost, or keep banging at the door until it opens. Like, if it's not important for you, then just remove yourself from the equation. But if you can't live without it, then you're not going to give up until it works. So you find a way to what you want and deserve. Okay, but the question is, do you deserve it? A lot of people think they deserve something. They deserve a lot of things, but they don't really work for it. Or it's like saying, oh, I want a rich man, and he needs to be nice, and he needs to care for me. I need to be the only one in the world, or whatever. But are you like this? Like, don't expect from others things that you're not able to give yourself. That's why my career is so important to me, because, I want a guy who pays for the restaurant. Like, literally, if you're not paying for the restaurant, don't even take me out. But you don't want to be depending on someone. You want to have your own career. You want to have your own money, your own influence, your own success. So if you want someone that is there, you need to meet them there. If you're just low and you're just waiting, for a rich guy, then you're just a prostitute. So, or maybe a super superficial guy who just stays at the physical aspect. But or maybe have a family. Maybe someone that having a family is so important. Just because you don't have a career don't mean you're a good person. Don't get me wrong. Okay, like I said, there are super nice people who just want a family, but they will take care of you, or they will still have passions. Maybe they will like to do crafts and things like this. Of course you want to find someone who grows together with you, because that's what a lot of people did with me. I don't have the greatest job. I don't, but I did work on my leverage, on my influence, on my political speech and stuff before people could start being interested. And I'm grateful that they did that and they took me seriously, even though I didn't have a badge, even though I didn't get the success I wish I had yet. Okay, so, but I'm working on my goals. I'm not just waiting for it to fall off the sky. I'm working on my goals every day. I go live, I post. People don't want to buy it, I give it for free. I try. At least I try, and you have to find people who are willing to grow together. So if you're not just where you want to be yet, don't stop trying, and find the people who are willing then to grow together. All right? So effort is very important, and caring is very important. Knowing where you are also, staying humble, but having the crew that's willing to do that. I know I repeat a lot, but it's so important. I'm so grateful, for for you guys to help me get to that level. And then you know that when the doors open for one, then we open the doors for the others to come in and just rebuild this team from the inside. Because this is the new values that you want to become the role models, you know, of the world. Do unto others as you wish they did unto you. Yes, that's what I just said. Rage. Enough of the politically correct. We need to take criminals head on, shame them, harass them, take them to justice, and terminate them. And looking good, yes, trying to make efforts to look presentable. Write yours now. What's your blueprint? So you have a couple of activities in the book, but not so much in this one. It's more in the first book that we have a lot of trainings. I tried to do a little bit for this one, but this is more a lot of information here. So Mystic Archives, the scepters, how do you pronounce that? Of the Golden Dawn. These instruments are not ornaments, but condensation of a complex, complete magical worldview, where the cosmos is structured, intelligible, and accessible through symbol. In the Hermetic order of the Golden Dawn, they serve as operative links between the microcosm of the practitioner and the macrocosm articulated through the Kabbalistic tree of life, astrological forces, and elemental hierarchies. So I'll let you read that. I'm going to post it. And then this is the cool things, you know, that the winks to each other every day. When you post something and the other ones respond. Bringing the keys to the puzzle together. Post from the FBI, the CIA. And I love that one when they say, there's a kind of discipline nobody claps for, showing up when it's boring, staying consistent when it's slow, and not needing anyone to notice. But in fact, that was more sarcastic that I posted that because we do notice, you know, and you have to let people know that you see them, you know, tell the people, we see you, we see your work, we see what you're doing. Oh, I see what you did there. Because when people are super intelligent and they're sharing this with the world and they're making a lot of efforts to save people, they're taking a lot of risks, you know, the Pentagon and the military, the Joint Chief of Staff, they're going on press conferences every week or every other week. Everything they do is tracked. They're not allowed to a single mistake. You know, it's a very difficult job. They're trying to go to another country and liberate a country. Literally, hey, can you go liberate a country tomorrow? Oh yeah, let's go. You know, not easy. The next day, they have hundreds of thousands of journalists attacking them, tracking their every mistake. This is a very difficult job. So when you notice, tell them, support them, say, oh, you know, that was a great reference. And so intelligence goes on. Because if nobody notices, then you're going to stop doing it, you know? And this is what makes it interesting. If you're, and funny also, if you're constantly investigating murders and difficult cases, you know, tragedies and genocides, and your life is so sad. You need to bring a little bit of fun. You need to bring culture, things that are inspiring. And later in the book, I show, you know, I highlight things that they say and show that was a reference to this book, reference to that, and it's cool. Okay, so then I share here my removal of nuclear weapons ambitious global goal program. So this is a summary of all my denuclearization goal. Annihilate irrecuperable criminals, because before you make an inventory of the nuclear weapons, like Marco Rubio said, you have to prevent new ones from coming out, okay? And then you have to arrest the criminals, because if they're still out there, they're going to make your work impossible. Then make an inventory of the weapons, then train specialists into the transition, the reconversion programs, sign global agreements. There is already an agreement of non-proliferation, but now we want to go one step further and do an agreement for denuclearization, which only is a door to criminal impunity. That is all that nuclear weapons do. They're just using this as a shield to say, if you attack me, I will blow everything up. But if you have optimal diplomatic relationships, you don't need to threaten like that. And even now, we see that they're not using it. They should have, blown up Israel a long time ago, but they're not doing it because they're scared of the environmental and humanitarian long-term consequences. So if you're not doing it now, there's probably a chance we're never going to use those. So why do we still keep them? Removal phase. Least trusted countries give up nuclear weapons first. So the criteria would be, has the country been involved in military conflict within the past 20 years? Why 20 years? Because this is basically a generation of politicians. This generation of politicians, have they been involved right now? What did they do? Has the country always respected international agreements and the UN Charter and Universal Declaration of Human Rights? Has there been lawful election in this country? Is this country using its military to help other countries get out of dictatorships? Basically, are they trusted? And then we will have a monitoring phase. This is a letter from Einstein at the time, who was talking about his concerns towards nuclear weapons. It's time to recommit to disarmament and non-proliferation as the only true path to peace. This is a statement from the United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. My mentor who says solve bigger problems if you think, you're capable of it. This is when we had a beef with Mark Levin, who is a strong defender of Israel, and that we finally got to a discussion, a debate, and that started to change their perspectives a little bit. So contact in the desert, this is like my little wink to those aliens we work with. I call them aliens because literally people who have developed abilities that not a lot of people, that maybe everybody has, but not a lot of people use. Telepathy, telekinesis. They're magicians. When I say magicians, it's not just a statement, it's true. They really have very high IQs, and supernatural powers that maybe a lot of people have but don't believe they do or never practiced. So they just using maybe 10% of the brain, and some people use bigger portions of their brains, and they're able to accomplish better careers, better performances. Not everyone is able to go in front of a crowd and speak naturally and motivate the troops or answer questions in front of an assembly of 20 people attacking you every 5 minutes. These are high skills. So yes, so glad to connect those people. Remember, I had a dream, or not a dream, it was a hypnosis regression of before I incarnated in my life, and I was in a spaceship with all of these people. There was generals, there were people like light workers, there were people of all fields, and we were saying, how are we gonna accomplish our missions in this lifetime, and the one thing I was like, I will make them a drawing, and I remember this when I started painting. I thought that was funny. I was like, I'm going to illustrate all these difficult political concepts with simple symbols and drawings, and this is really, really efficient because with symbols you can communicate with every language in the world. I don't speak Bulgarian. I understand and speak a little bit of Russian. I'm just starting. I wish I had more time to learn Russian this summer. I'm going to. continue my Duolingo, but through the symbols, we communicate all the time. You know, the first language of the world was little drawings on the cave wall. And, you know, it lasted. Yep, and of course I'm finishing with the 10 Commandments of the Bible. I am the Lord your God, you shall not have strange gods before me. Honestly, there are a lot of things that have evolved a lot. You know, I believe in many, many gods. And you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. For sure, you have to respect. This is something I believe. You should always respect the sacred things, because your words are powerful, and I believe in that you should not make fun of sacred things. You should honor them all the time. Of course, don't take life too seriously either, but I don't like when people joke with, you know, like people say like, oh, I swear on my mom's blah blah blah, or you know, things like that, or I would die if this. Like, I don't like when people say things like this, because words really manifest. So yeah, be careful with your words. And that's it, guys. We're finishing this chapter. So it's been a long one. I'm sorry. I will try to do faster next time. But the black sheep syndrome sometimes lasts. The dark night of the soul lasts a long time, more than you wish it would. But remember, we're not aiming for the same destination. So maybe you will find success faster, but you have a role in your local community, or your journey is supposed to be smoother. All the journeys are different, but sometimes it takes longer because you're supposed to go further and to find people on the journey, on the way, and things. So don't get discouraged. Things are opening up, and right now the goals are of 2026 to win the Nobel Prize of Literature for my book, Where We All Are, but also I wish to support for the Nobel Prize also Nassim Haramein, who has the key of my anti-gravity equation and to build these new generation spaceships. I really, really want to work with Nassim Haramein. They're very great researchers. They have discovered a lot of components about black holes and protons and free energy and all this thing, continuing Tesla's work. So I really wish for him to be recognized, because he has talked about a lot in his conferences about how, you know, the scientific communities are constantly threatened and how are blocked in their research because they don't want them, the oil monopoly, they don't want them to go in this direction and things like that. And this is someone who has dedicated his entire life and career to finding sponsoring, finding credibility in the field, to evidence all these things, and quantum physics. And William Brown, so who worked with him, this guy is an alien, he's a genius. They're already finding out about time travel through the Einstein-Rosen bridge and all these concepts that are super interesting. Like I'm telling you, stargates are no longer science fiction. Maybe they already exist and we don't know it, you know? And I mean, the US government probably knows it, but that's it. I'm rooting for the masterminds for the prize of economic science, because like I talked to you about it, they're not perfect, but we do need this mentality. We do need people to be more go-getters, to be more involved, more committed, more enthusiastic about their things, finding passions in your life. So important. And for the Nobel Prize, the Nobel Peace Prize, you know, I'm supporting 100% the US government. I'm supporting the trio, President Trump and Pete Hegseth, Department of War, and General Dan Kane, Joint Chief of Staff, to win the Nobel Peace Prize this year, because they're doing so much, they're working so hard. And then I'm supporting Marco Rubio to become the next president of the United States, 100%. I know he will win his own Nobel Peace Prize, because he has a huge, this is just the beginning for Marco Rubio. He has a great political career, and I hope that we all going to continue working with him. We all be his team. And because right now, having the US military and a great Secretary of State who might most likely become president, they're being supported by Elon Musk, who is, you know, the empire of technology, admired by the Nobel Prize Committee, where the way they work together to liberate not just Mohammadi. That's what we want. You know, we want people to set the standards. We want people to take action on it. We want leaders who make politics natural and simple. They're not trying to twist your mind and manipulate. And I love President Trump. He cracks me up. He's so funny. Like I literally, there's only one like him. Like he came out with his aureola on his head. Like I was like, yeah, he deserves it. And you know, his rude attitude is kind of justified, considering all the attacks that him and his family have been suffered over the years. No kidding, he came in pissed off. But what I admire the most about him is how they listened. You know, we had completely opposite views on immigration, and I campaigned against him. I wanted to say those cute little immigrants that were just like my babies, but a lot of the things that they said were true as well. You know, what makes me so mad is immigrants who come in to fraud millions of dollars, not to help others, but they're frauding just to enrich themselves, and they're creating like fake daycares and things like this. That you're dirtying the reputation of your entire community who needs help because of them. Then all this stuff has been taken away from all these people who do need help and who are good people. So they started strong, and it's a good strategy. They started strong by doing the dirty job that everybody hated them for and was against, but they did what they kind of had to do, and then they started compromising. So better than doing the other way, right? Better than being all nice and telling people what they want to hear, and then ended up revealing yourself to be a dictator. Like Israel, he looks so nice. You know, Netanyahu, he's a character. Like, everything he says, I agree. When he speaks, he's an excellent speaker, manipulator. When Netanyahu speaks, I agree with everything that he says. He will convince, you know, a cow to eat her baby. That's crazy. He's a great speaker. So they will listen to him, all agree and support, and then he ends up being a mass murderer who has his own plan that just actually concerns himself, even though, you know, I respect him somewhat, because I know his mentality, I know his redemption plan, I know what he's doing, his plan with God, his payback, karma payback and stuff, so I understand him, you know, but he's still a criminal. Like, you know, you can't deny that the guy manipulated everyone to have it his way, to fulfill his lifelong genocide agenda, that our role is to say, not this time. All right? Okay, guys, so the black sheep syndrome. Tell the truth. Don't be discouraged. And and be the underdog. You know, sometimes being the underdog is your best advantage because no one sees you coming. All right. Have a great day, everyone. See you tomorrow.